Welcome, everybody, to Help the Helpers. And I just want to say I'm really looking forward to whole body focusing this morning. I just got back from Rome a short time ago, and I got on the plane. So I'm feeling a little better, but I'm not going to talk very much today. But I'm very, very happy I can't give you my germs. I've been so worried about giving people germs. And it's lovely that I can get energy from you, but not give you my germs. And so, Katerina, you're going to introduce our speakers?
Yes, you request that I read the bios. We'll begin with Kevin McEvenue. I speak of myself as an Alexander teacher and a focusing trainer and coordinator. Whole body focusing seems to come together for me in my book called Dancing the Path of the Mystic.
Wow.
Written over 30 years ago. Nowadays, it seems to be as true as what I envisioned back then, only more deeply experienced and appreciated. Life is and always has been for me a search for meaning in who I am, who I meant to be, and my purpose in life. Whole body focusing seems to open a doorway beyond what was expected. It has led to a sense of heartfelt connection that enhances the welling on us, as well as a sense of participation in a larger sense of life itself, where I feel a part. Connecting with the other, I feel a sense of me. Connecting with the other, I feel a sense of me. I am a part of and a participant in this unfolding life itself right now. We seem to be part of an expansion of a human consciousness that is essential to our world today. More in wholebodyfocusing.com. That was biography of Kevin McEvenue. And now Rafael Villeta. What is most inspiring for my desire to live are the relationships, the connections that occur with those I work and live with, but also with my internal system, especially with the parts of me that need compassion and appreciation to awaken to their own healing. This statement reveals the great influence that whole body focusing has on my present because of the inquiries that Kevin McEvenue and I have been undertaking over the last few years. We explored what it is about relationships that foster exuberance in life. Internal family systems also provides me with a very concrete and practical methodology to assist my client in the development of these connections that any person needs. During these last 15 years, I have been learning and practicing various disciplines of somatic dance, which is surely what is nurturing my sensitivity and my understanding of the body and movement. As a tennis coach for 28 years, I developed my organic tennis method, integrating focusing and somatic dance with the teaching of academic tennis. I define myself as a white male, dyslexic, and visually handicapped, focusing-oriented therapist, passionate about inner and outer connections, a deep enthusiast of movement and creativity as engines of healing processes. More at rafaelvilleta.com. So over to you, Rafael.
Thank you, Katerina. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here with all you. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Kevin, for helping me with this. Your big support, not only today, but lately in my life and in my job as a therapist. So thank you for that. First thing I want to do is tell you a story. Actually, it's a dream. It's a dream that I shared with Kevin time ago when I was still teaching tennis at the Tennis Federation. I was teaching there
for 20 years.
Yeah, there's someone that is.
Make sure that everyone
sorry.
Mute your microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I shared that the dream with Kevin when I was still teaching tennis at the federation. I couldn't teach organic tennis. They wouldn't allow me to teach tennis the way I wanted, and maybe the dream has to do with that. I guess it has to do with some other stuff like my visual handicap. Maybe you can see that sometimes I do this because I want to see your names and have to get closer to the screen to see who you are. And that was a very important thing when I was teaching tennis and playing tennis. And I want to start with a dream that's connecting with that, because it happened time ago. Still, Kevin and I are referring to that dream again and again, because it seems to be very important in our relationship. He has a reaction to the dream, which was very interesting and very inspiring to me. And it unleashed a carrying forward in my experience. So in the dream, I was inviting Kevin to play tennis with me, and he got into the tennis court before me. He was naked and barefoot, without rackets or any equipment. And I told him I was naked too. And I told him, Kevin, we cannot play tennis. We cannot play tennis like this. And his response was, Rafa, let's play tennis. We don't need anything else. And I said, Kevin, I have to go to my place to take the rackets and the rest of the equipment. And he said, Rafa, you don't need all that. You can play tennis. Let's play tennis now. And I was so concerned about all the equipment. I can receive that invitation from Kevin. And so I went back to my place to take the rackets and the rest of the stuff, the balls and everything, sneakers, the clothes and everything. And even when I knew that I was going to get lost on my way to my place, because that's what usually happens in my dreams. I get lost when I try to get to anywhere. I get to get lost. So I didn't want to go to take all the stuff to play tennis with Kevin, but I felt I had to do that. And that's what happened. I got lost in my way to my place. And that's all I want to say about the dream. So this is the moment when I'm asking Kevin how is for him today or nowadays. How is for him also the story, because he had a reaction at that moment, very meaningful for me, and we've been actualizing, in our interaction, the dream and the reaction to the dream. So I want to know. I'm curious, and I want to ask him now how is for him, how's for you, Kevin?
Yes. So I'll just take a moment. For the screen to switch at least. Yeah, I'm kind of reliving the situation. It must have been about almost 2 years now. So I want to feel how it was then. And later, see how it is now. It's like there's a time element here that goes together. But let's begin with that experience that Rafa just spoke to me. And I'm just checking to see if that I can catch the screen. And I have a impairment. I can't see and read.
Yeah, we have the same handicap, so that's something that is connecting us. Yeah,
and I'm also dyslexic. So
yeah, we are dyslexic. Yeah, that's true.
Now I'm on the screen, so I can see me speaking, and I hope you can see yourselves as I see you. When Rafa told me that he had this dream, something happened almost immediately before he actually was able to speak the dream and describe the dream and how it was for him. There was an awakening in me that was very physical. And I'm just picking it up now again. I was excited. I would say I was aroused. Even before I knew there was an invitation to play tennis with him. And that seemed to take over my body before my mind began to kick into the information Rafa was describing as his experience. I'll just take a moment now, too, because it's the same. It's the same then as it was those years ago. It hasn't changed. Something was awakened in me. It's like hearing and feeling and connecting with another person. And these movements started to occur automatically. Wow, I can feel it in my heart here, spontaneously. And I started to look up. I know how to play tennis. I know how to play tennis. I know how to play tennis. I am so excited by the awakening of this sense of myself in me about what I can do. I can play tennis. And I was so appreciative of that moment of experiencing that although I heard the story that Rafa was talking about, and I did say from here, oh, you don't need a tennis racket. We can just play tennis. Because that was my experience. But I was still very caught up in my experience. And speaking from what my experience was feeling, which was, we don't need a racket. We can just play tennis, organic tennis. That's what it is. This is what we were here to do. All very exciting. And at some point I asked him, wow, Rafa, how is that for you? And then he began to say something, and I'm not quite sure what he actually said. And maybe he wasn't quite clear of what it was for him right then, because here I am very excited, but I wasn't all that present to his feelings in that. I heard a story, but he obviously had something else that was going on in him. And only this time, these years later, have I discovered that he had a very different experience as he was describing this dream. And I didn't realize the importance of his experience. I was so caught up in mine. So I wasn't really a good listener in a heartfelt connecting kind of way. And I would like to apologize for that now, if I had. But there was more than that. And let's pause there, because that's what actually happened. I was excited. I had a movement. I had an experience. And then Rafa had his own experience. And I was unaware fully of what that experience was. So is that enough, Rafa? Or do you want to say?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess that is enough. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, so we shared the story before the attunement because we hope that the story affects to your sense now, the sense of the group. And now is the moment to see how you are with this story, how you are with the rest of what you have now today. And have a small attunement together. So I'm inviting you now to look a little bit more inside and see how is all this for you now, all this complexity. Of this story and the rest of your experience you're bringing today to this gathering. So just take a moment to see how's the best way to go inside. Maybe you want to close your eyes or keep your eyes open, doesn't matter. The gathering. Maybe you want to adjust your posture, or just feeling how you're sitting down in your chair. You're offering all your curiosity, all the curiosity we have available now to our bodies. All the caring we make available now to we want to place our hands somewhere in our bodies now. Connecting with the breathing is helpful too, to be aware of what the body needs now. So this is the moment to really get into this gathering, really landing into this gathering. It's all the experience we are having now. With all our bodies, if that's possible. So Devin and I are welcoming all your bodies here. Every single experience that is showing up at this moment. Probably part of the experience you're having now is something you came with. And some of the experience is something that you're resonating with the rest of the group, with Kevin, with me. I'm inviting you to just to offer curiosity to what's resonating with the story and with the group. And what's the experience that you're bringing today into the group. Maybe we can say yes to all of it. Maybe we can say yes to all the experience, all the experiences present. If there is something in us that cannot welcome our experience, we can say yes to that protection as well. Say yes to that part of us that are preventing us from connecting. That part has reasons to do that. Yeah, so now I'm inviting you to come back to the group and in your own way, in your own pace, in your own comfortable way. Come back with the group. Get ready for the next step today. Which is keep resonating with the story. How is for you the story? How is for you to be present now, today, with us? And in order to create this resonance, Kevin and I are going to do this in a more explicit way. So I'm inviting you to witness our interaction for a while. And then we're going to invite you back to resonate in a more explicit way. So this is the moment when I'm asking you to turn your cameras off. So Kevin and I are going to be alone in the screen. So so now what I see here on the screen is Kevin, the image of Kevin and my image. Hello. Yeah. And I want to start throwing you the ball. So the ball is in the side of in your side, okay, the court, because I'm very curious about what you said before. I know all that, but I'm curious about the actualization, how it's for you today. So maybe you want to take a moment and take that in and share.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole situation is it's amazing how it all comes back so clearly as a physical experience of that dream that actually brought something for both of us. But as I told the story here, and it was back then, I was preoccupied with that new awakening that opened my life in a new way, so excited that I really didn't ask you properly. I'm asking you properly now. Rafa, how was that dream for you now as you experience it today?
And so I can feel you hitting the ball back to right side of the court. And first thing that I can feel is some nervousness about this and about sharing all this with the group. And the nervousness is connected to I am enough. That's what I feel now. I am enough. I have the resources, enough resources to do what we're doing right now. And offer a good experience to the group. That's something that is coming to me now. And the same in the dream. I guess it has something similar in the dream. In the dream, I needed the equipment. I was so concerned about the equipment, so concerned about, I need the rackets to play. I need the balls to play with Kevin. I have to go back to my place. I can't play tennis without the equipment. So I was arguing with you in the dream, actually. And you were so excited to play tennis with me, and I was concerned about my equipment because I wanted to play tennis properly. And there's something else that comes to me in all this complexity, which is your reaction. As your reaction happens. something new in me, something unexpected, which is, oh, there's another way to play tennis. There's an unexpected way to play tennis. And Kevin knows how to do that. And maybe I know how to do that too, because if he's so excited to play tennis with me that way, that's because I can do that as well. Yes, I can feel you saying yes to this, and so I wonder how is this for you?
Yes. Again, I'm just enjoying it, the life in it. First of all, you may all notice that Rafa's moving spontaneously. It's like his body is alive and moving in a very natural, spontaneous way. It wasn't like that 2 years ago. He didn't know that wasn't something that was in him to just be with himself in this way. And you can see as I speak it now, his body and his mind is connecting with itself. As I'm noticing it, it increases his activity.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. And I wrote it down as he was telling. His concern was, I don't have the balls to play tennis with Kevin. Yeah, I have to go back and find my balls. But this time, balls has another connotation beyond tennis balls. And I had to laugh because it looks like he has the balls at the moment to play tennis with me. Which brings me back to what you mean, Rafa, about playing organic tennis. It's another game of relationship, which is arousing and awakening and pleasurable. So I'm curious about how that is for you to hear my comments now about your response today.
Yeah, when you say today, I'm realizing that I'm feeling the support of the group right now. I feel nervous because of the group, and at the same time, is holding this Heartfelt conversation we're having. So I guess that instead of answering, I'm gonna invite the rest of the group to see what comes to them about all this. What is organic tennis for them, or whatever they come to them. If you're okay with that, with this, Kevin.
Yes, that's a good. You're a dodger of experience by asking how it is for me. Whenever you're in a difficult spot, you say, well, how is that for you, Kevin? Or I wonder how it is for the group. Very clever, very useful way of not having to say how that.
Yeah, that's so useful for me. that's very useful for me. Yes. Because that helps me to understand myself, or help me to understand my experience, my own experience. Yeah, that's true.
Let's see if I can catch that a bit. It's a useful tool for you to give you the space to digest all these things that have been happening. And as a dyslexic, we need more time. Yeah. Our minds don't work in a logical way. It needs more time and presence to take in and to savor what has been happening and been shared right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm agreement. Yeah. Invite the group as a group to come in and say how it is for them to hear Kevin and Rafa share this experience of the dream now.
Yeah. So thank you for coming back and thank you for sharing in a more explicit way. So this is the moment where anyone can say anything about all this, even when it doesn't have anything to do with the story. We are curious about how you are right now. Everybody is welcome. So, yeah, Elizabeth, thank you.
Yeah, I've heard of this third hand for a while, but I see now that the image of playing tennis without tennis rackets or even being in the same country at the same time, that it is about what real heartfelt conversation can be. And I always, when I heard of it before, I thought it was just some form of imagining playing tennis, but it ain't. It isn't. It's really everything, including paying attention to how the individual with you is responding and giving them space to share it. And even having that person say, you've put off your own answer is part of that. And then there was more understanding there. So it's like a really, what's the word? Purification, advancement of what heartfelt conversation is. That's what I saw.
Yeah, nice. Thank you, Elizabeth. Kevin, do you want to say something in response of that?
Yeah, it is so much. There's so much there to say. This organic tennis, or this game that we're playing, is so much more about the life in you and the life in me, playing back and forth. Tennis was meant by design to compete, and there's a winner and there's a loser, and we compete and try to beat each other. This is a very, very different kind of game that supports each other in our mutual experience of playing. And I would say, and I see the movement, I see the vitality. It's the play, it's supporting life itself. This is how life is meant to be lived. And it's arousing and it's playful. So once again, that's, as Elizabeth is describing, this is a bigger game than we realize. It's a game of life.
Right. I'd like to say something. June.
Hey, June. Yeah,
Hi.
go ahead, please. Yeah.
Yes, this experience reminds me of my experience yesterday when I was visiting a friend of mine who was visiting her daughter and grandson, who was like 3 years old. And I sat there watching my friend hold her grandson. And I had mixed feelings because my grandchildren are far away at the moment. And there she was holding her child. So at first I was into my experience, and then I switched over to her experience and felt very happy as I felt what she was feeling holding her child, her grandchild. I mean, so it was very interesting switching from my experience to her experience. And I liked it. That's what comes to mind for me.
June, thank you very much. I know that Kevin is resonating a lot with you right now.
Yes.
For sure, I know that he wants to say something about this.
Can I say something there about my response to you? Because I'm 86, but I have at that time, a almost 2-year-old grandchild, and I held him, and I didn't quite know how to hold a grandchild. You bring it all back to me because I would say, and I did, but I did it a little differently than I thought I would. I thought I would try to be nice to the baby, reassure it, oh, you're so sweet, you're so lovely. I didn't do that. I held the baby. I waited for the baby to discover me. And it did. It needed a pause. It needed to figure out whether this connection was good. And when it did, it just exploded. Yes, it started to grow. It had the right environment to have a life. That taught me all about how to play the game of life. And it's his life I was experiencing. And I was the conduit. I'm the plug-in, but it's all about giving him room and feeling safe enough to grow his life. That's the job of as a parent. So I really resonated with how you got a memory, how it woke in you, and you were able to participate, and that's what we do. We need a solid connection with another person to grow our lives. Today, now, and at the beginning, too.
Yeah, Nurit, go ahead. Thank you.
When you said your dream, I know this dream so well in my own life. I could not believe that you said the dream. And I don't believe the dream is just like at night. I believe we have a lot of dreams during the day and at night. And what I connected with in this dream is the nakedness to me was like the full excitement of life, the possibility. I experienced that so many times, but then comes the tools. The tools are missing. And then it takes away from that excitement. The excitement is like Michelangelo has this rock in front of him, and then he starts to make forms out of the stone. And that's where you start to get, how do I say that? Smaller, more formed. And that is what the challenge is. For me, I am so filled with that nakedness, but then when it comes to the tools and the little things and how to form them and how to be with life and how to be with society and how to be with professions and how to be with all these things and become informing them, that's, for me, I totally connect with what you said.
Thank you. Nice.
Now it's your turn. I think that touches something in you about being naked to life, exposed.
Yeah, exactly. That's what came to me, Kevin. Exposed. Yeah. So that's all that and exposed as well. Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's something you do say, and this is responding to the person here, and I can't read the names, so I'll just point to you. How we need a structure to facilitate the enjoyment of being naked. I really loved her dream. The dream was very awakening, your perception, your experience of life. But how to do it is another step. And that's, I think, where we get into struggle and learning and confusion and trial and error to create a solid base of structure to facilitate the enjoyment of the nakedness in a way that really does work for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, when you say that, Kevin, what comes to me is interactive focusing, and we have Barbara today with us. Barbara, with me, yes. Because Barbara is teaching Sorry, Barbara.
Yes.
Barbara is teaching interactive focusing and is trying to expand this tool. And for me, is I'm it's like all this we're doing right now. So it's a Harvard conversation but with the structure that keep us safe in the interaction. That's that's one of the reasons why I think that interactive focusing is so interesting.
May I say something?
Sure.
You didn't exactly take the words right out of my mouth, but I want to say I have watched you, Kevin and Rafa, before and today, and what I appreciate is the space that you make so that each of you is heard completely before the other responds. I've noticed that oftentimes the most important thing the other person has to say in a conversation can be cut off by interruption, that we don't let each other finish our thought and even come to that resting place. And I wanted to notice that this way you have of being with each other, the first word I heard in my body when I was listening to you earlier was the word from tennis, volley. And if you watch a tennis match, that ball goes back and forth so fast. And it's like a lot of conversations where people don't let each other finish, even when the most precious thing might be the last thing they're going to say before they come to a resting place. So I really want to make a movie of you, and I want to put it in all the theaters, and I want to make everybody watch it.
Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I guess we have 5 minutes left. And maybe someone else needs to share some experiences.
I want to say something. I want to talk about what occurred to me as you two were volleying. First, I'm going to call Rafa, even though I've never spoken to him before, and I hope that's okay.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
When you were talking about needing to get the balls, I heard it the way Kevin did too, but I thought that you didn't want it to be heard that way, and was then added another line about so it wouldn't be heard that way. And I was glad that Kevin brought it back to that. And then when Kevin was talking about how you didn't used to move this way and now you move this way, I wanted to say that it's okay not to move. I don't think that we should value growth as much as we do, because then we push, and we don't want to push the river because it flows without that. That's all.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, yesterday we were talking about this, Jim, Kevin and I. We were preparing this gathering, and the purpose of what we're doing is just enjoying the connection. We are so confident about that. Yeah, so that's what comes to me. Yeah, and yeah, I know that Sophie wanted to raise her hand before. Sorry.
Yeah. Nashira would like to say something. Nashira.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
First, I wanted to say when I was watching the two of you, it was very tender for me. It was sweet and soft, playful, and I guess it was an emotional experience for me. So that's my reflection on observing. And then my question is, how do you begin creating that space?
Thank you. I guess Kevin does that better than me. So maybe Kevin wants to answer that. Because Kevin has a structure for that. I improvise more. I do different things depending on the moment. So maybe Kevin wants to say something about that.
You notice what he's doing. Bob again. But I'll notice that he's doing that, and I can see whether I'll accept it or not. But I could emphasize that he has his own way of being present to a situation. And I just want to take that in because it affects the way I am with him, is how he is with himself first. Because my body's waiting. Is this a safe place to be with that person? Is he open and receptive to what I have to say? It's happening first before I even figure out what I'm going to say. My body is very wise. Like the little baby, the little grandchild picks up the safe environment. So actually, Rafa, it starts with you being present to yourself that enables me to open up to you.
Nice. Nice. I don't have anything to add to that.
I'd like to say that it's also, Rafa, the way that you are receptive, not only to yourself, but you're like a flower hungry for the rain and the sunshine. And I think there's a kind of eagerness in both of you that is very beautiful to watch, that you both so want the connection with the other. And you show it in your expression, in your body, and your tone.
Can I say something to that, Lynn? Because it brings up that.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
I'm just pausing it. It's very subtle. It's hard to put into words. And it happens in me too. When I witness someone like Rafa being present and I'm wondering what to do, he may be all uptight and worried in his one part of himself, but his body has its own language and its own presence, independent of his mental state. And if we're a good listener and we're feeling both grounded and in a good place, I pick up the life in you, not the other parts as strongly as the confusion or the I don't want to, or and it's the same if I'm being listened to. I'm not aware of what you're picking up in me, but I do notice that I often get a good response to open up to somebody else, and you wonder why. Because I'm not really there in some way, but actually I am, and I don't know it. And that's the human condition of having both in ourselves. We're alive to ourselves at a bigger picture of ourselves, but we aren't yet fully aware of our potential possibilities. And I think, Lynn, you're touching on that larger self that we connect with naturally. We hunger for a connection that's bigger than we realize what we're even looking for. So thank you.
Yeah, Kevin, when you say that, what comes to me is when you say we are not aware of our potentials. It comes to me the possibility of playing tennis with you naked, barefoot, without rackets, without balls. And for something in me is saying, yes, it makes so much sense. And something in me is saying, no, I need the equipment, I need the structure, I need to see better, I need better eyes to see the ball better. But my body made me the tennis player I am. So thanks to my eyes, to my handicap, I had to develop in a very young age another way of playing tennis. And Kevin connected to that way of playing tennis. Yeah, and there was someone else that wanted to say something. Trying to find her. Yeah. Sophie, yeah, go ahead.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah, thank you for your patience.
Oh, yes. This feels very very special. How the climate that you are creating with the way you are interacting. And what I first sense is like what somebody said earlier, I can't remember her name, tenderness. Lots of tenderness, and I'm also tender today. So that I was resonating with this tenderness. And there's something that's special around it. Feels like this kind of genuine, tender, approaching each other with respect and openness. And there's something humbling about it that I really appreciate. It's so rare to have this in such a public kind of space. I mean, I know a lot of us kind of know Zoom. We are Zoom friends on this. But yeah. So this feels very essential, I guess. Yeah. Essential and missing. Maybe that's where I connect to the tender and the loss. Yeah. It's missing a lot in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie.
Can I say something there, Rafa, to him?
Sure, yeah. Go ahead.
It reminds me of Elizabeth, both the tenderness and Elizabeth, who's here. And we were talking about playing tennis and about where she's watched us play this different game. And she switched it to badminton, which is a very different game. But she said it in a way that I could get it right away. That the purpose of badminton can be to keep the bird in the air all the time. The whole desire is to maintain the bird to keep flying. And that's a very different game, to keep life continuing over and over and repeating, maintaining life like that, like that, like that, like that. If we can keep it life long enough, life grows, life becomes more. There was something very beautiful in the way she was describing it. And it's just the baptism is keeping it bird for flying. You know, the bird has feathers. That's that's how we would like to be with another person. Keep their life growing and being more. You want to say something, Rafa? There's a smiling there.
I want to ask Megs if you want to say something. You have your list.
Yes, I must say. So, to my surprise, when Kevin said that he found the state of nakedness, he used the word exuberant. I was shocked. And what kind of made me, I'll just say this, very fond of, appreciative of the focusing process and surprised. Every dream I have ever had where I was naked was an emergency. In fact, I believe one of the top 10 most popular, frequent dreams, or at least nightmares. Wave your hand if you've been naked in your dreams. And you're naked, and often you're in public, and often sometimes you forgot to go to class. So it's an emergency and not good. So Kevin's exuberance, pleasure, release about being naked. And what I found heartening, and I'll just say this about me, and I think in spite of my surprise at Kevin's reaction, I could still attend what both of you were saying, even though I confess a quarter of my brain was going, really? Really? No, and the same with Rafa going for his equipment. That seemed to me like not showing up for your final. Emergency, I must do this. But thanks to participating and focusing, I could stay along for the journey in spite of a quarter of my brain going, are you really? 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 So that was interesting to me. So very, very interesting. Thanks.
Thank you, Megs. I don't know if you have more time now, Katrina. We have 2 rounds.
I just wanted to say, I had lost you a little bit. My internet went out, so maybe somebody else might have said this, but I was thinking also about the therapy process, and Gene saying that he has all of his theories and experiences right next to him, but there's nothing between him and the client. And I was thinking, that Gene was inviting us to play tennis that way with our clients, and that struggle for Raf of I have to make sure I have my stuff, right? And then you got lost looking for your stuff. Sort of reminded me of when, as therapists, we think, oh, I need my, this technique or that technique, or I have to learn this or that, which of course is always good to do, but we don't need any of that to be right here present with the other.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. Yeah, what comes to me is that time ago, this is another story, right, Barbara? Time ago, Dean asked Barbara to connect with that guy who was teaching tennis with focusing in Spain, in Madrid. But and Barbara regretted that she couldn't make it at that moment. And I told her, no problem, because I wasn't ready at that time. I wasn't ready. And I wasn't ready because I was playing tennis with a racket and balls and all the equipment. So, so I wonder if you want to say something, to add something about this, Barbara. But just to spoil the story, sorry.
No, it's okay. You didn't spoil it. I very much resonate with the phrase "wasn't ready." There were other stories like that where something didn't happen for some years. And when you said to me there was something about not being ready, it created some kind of fabric out of the whole thing that had just been sort of loose threads up until that point. It was a good conversation.
Nice. Yeah, and I want to ask Kevin about this issue of, the way the client and the therapist connects, because we've been talking about this with Kevin. I've been talking about this with Kevin. And I don't know, Kevin, if you want to say something about Jean's perspective against our perspective of interaction, in the therapy room.
I would like to say something about how I start knowing what to say to you. I'm not a therapist and never have been, and nor do I feel I can remember all the technical qualities that would require to be a good therapist. It's not where I began. So when I enter a kind of therapeutic situation and I'm the one to begin the listening and to ask you how you are, which reminds me of what Lynn said about Jean's neutrality as a therapist. I think I must have learned it from him. I come into a situation, I feel the connection, which we've mentioned before, whether it's an okay situation or not, enough to say something. And then I ask him, something in me knows how to begin, knows what to say. I don't. So I'm already in a kind of mindset where I don't know what to say here, but something in me does, because something in me connects to the whole situation and will present me with a word or an image or something, and I begin there. And Barbara's really tuned into this type of thing. You say something and you let it land or not. Because I don't know. I'm listening to an inner vision or an inner information, but I have no guardrails. I have nothing to hold on to, no theory, nothing. So all I can do is see how it lands in the heart or the experience of the other person. If it doesn't land that way, that's not the right thing to say. So I'll try something else, or I'll wait. Or maybe that person isn't a person that wants to go there anyways. And I'll just diverge a little bit about how I learned that. I was given a person who thought I was a therapist, and her own perception of being a therapist was to unload all her unhappiness in this hour. And I said, what the hell am I going to do here? This is boring for me. There's no life in it. Mm-hmm. But in the listening, I felt one or two things that she said I could feel. The rest was story of, oh, I'm so unhappy. I'm so depressed. It's so bad. But she said something about her mother-in-law with real feeling, kind of feeling. And I thought, now I've got something. So I said to her, thank you for sharing this story. I was wondering if there's something about your mother-in-law that brings something special for you or something like that. She said, what are you talking about? My mother-in-law is just fine. I don't feel anything. She's just fine. She's lovely. Isn't she nice? I said, that's where we cannot have a conversation. I can't work with that person who can't feel a sense of herself in a way that I can make a connection that would be useful. So that would be my guideline as a therapist there.
Thank you, Kevin. June, you wanted to say something? Okay. I thought you're done this. Sorry. That's fine. Okay.
And you brought a powerful poem, so we can have that anytime you like.
Yeah, maybe this is a good moment, Katrina. Do you want to read it, or you want me to read it?
Yeah. If, by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but not too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is much more, you'll be a man, my son. By Rudyard Kipling, who lived from 1865 to 1963.
Thank you, Katrina. Yeah, and there's a bit of this poem that is in Wimbledon. Players has to go through this. Well, beneath this poem, you get into the tennis court, the center tennis court in Wimbledon. So the bit that you have there is, it says, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two imposters just the same. And it's so inspiring to me, even when maybe in the sport culture they don't understand that very well. But for me, it has to do a lot with my dream and what we've been discussing today. I wonder if something about all this resonates to you and you want to add something. Mm-hmm.
I just put the poem in the chat. That's our custom. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Katrina. Yeah, Charles, hello.
Very brief word. It strikes me, and I'm not sure exactly why, that the poem is about nakedness.
Mm.
Even though it never mentions nakedness. But it's about just being oneself and shedding all the trappings, as it were.
Mm.
You, Charles.
That felt so good when you said that, Charles. Sort of brought things together.
Something about the poem also strike the chord of how to meet triumph and disaster was the same in the same.
And treat those two imposters just the same.
Just the same. Just the same. Yeah. What a vision. Appreciate that.
It feels like there's something special about us gathering the day before the election in the U.S. and something about the nakedness and something about the triumph or disaster are both imposters. There's something more there. Mm-hmm. And there's something about us being together in this tenderness and in this time when many of us are sort of holding our breath. And maybe this dialogue that the two of you have given us, Kevin and Rafa, help us to sit in the nakedness together and feel like, well, maybe it can be okay.
Thank you, Lynn. Kevin talks a lot about this a lot. What's the purpose of this? We are exploring together. And he says that's what we just described. That's the purpose, to offer something that can help at least to the focusing community in this direction.
I'd like to say something in response to you, Lynn. I also feel the safety here, which I may not feel so much when I think about what's happening in our country. So to provide that feeling of safety and holding in this group is very important.
Yes.
Thank you, Leonard.
Yes. Yes. Rafa, you just said it. What is our purpose here? Why do we do these things? And I think we say something about it's timely. Our human consciousness requires a different game set as a possibility, as an alternative, better game, where we mutually support each other as complementary rather than competitively, in the sense of let's put the other one down so we can make it work for us. Let's see what value that nature of that particular country, persons, what comes naturally for them that would complement and support what I'm doing, and together we create a better product, a better life. That's an attitude change that seems to be essential from the game of war as we know it. And it was Margaret Mead a year ago who was a famous, what's the word for it? Anthropologist, but at a very important meeting I had with her. And Margaret Mead it was just about the bombing of Hiroshima, saying that the reality of that bombing created a reality in our sense of our core being and a core as a human creature that we now have the capacity to destroy one another or destroy ourselves. And that's an impossibility. It's against life itself. And that there needs to be is a shift of we have to find a way that cannot be a reality to self-destruct. There has to be a better way. So this kind of activity that we're doing today is an exploration of a better way of being to answer some of the global conflicts, including climate change and people. There's a better way that we need to explore now to survive. And we are. And that's our purpose, to be here with each other today.
So eloquent, Kevin. Thank you.
It makes me think of what you said earlier about creating solid connections with one another in order to grow our lives.
Yes.
There's an arousal in that connection. Sometimes, at least, there's like a purpose, a fulfilled purpose in the connection. Just being present in the connection, nothing else.
Yes. 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 Can I just repeat that? To feel that connection, the awakening of that connection, the arousal of that connection, and stop there. something has happened, and just being with it creates its own structure for more activity, to build its own structure out of a solid base, as you mentioned, of life. And how difficult that is when we feel so good about ourselves. We really want to make it more. We want to do this with it. We want to do that with it. What if we pause and just enjoy what we have, the life inside me, and trust that it will show me a structure I need to grow my own possibilities from there, not from what I want, but what it is showing me is possible now. It's a kind of nakedness and a vulnerability that I don't know what I need next, but something in me does. And to wait for that to reveal itself. That's a spiritual journey, actually. That's what dancing the path of the mystic was about 30 years ago, was following my own inner directed self. Similar to the movement that's happening in Rafa right now. See his movements. This is, to me, a sense of himself as alive. It's like a bridge between different possibilities, different thoughts and things going on in him. There's a kind of core presence that maintains itself to enable conflicting aspects to find a way to work together in some way.
I think it's time for us to stop, and this has been quite a meeting for us. And thank you both very, very much, and thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thanks.
Wonderful experience for me this morning. And thank you, Lynn, for enabling this all to be.
I don't think I enabled very much, but thank you.
Well, you initiated this whole group, and have kept it going for several years. Wow. And I thank you very much for that.
Yes, for sure. Right.
Yes.
It was lovely to really meet you, Rafa and Kevin, in this way.
Thank you, Lynn. Yeah.
I still have a painting that you gave me once.
Oh, really?
I gave you a card one day at a conference, and you gave me a lovely little painting, abstract piece. So I have
Wonderful. Well, yeah. I have some new ones. Maybe I'll give you another one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I hope the two of you can come back sometime.
Yes, absolutely.
Hi, June.
Hi, honey.
Gotta go.
Be well, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.